A good monitor shouldn't just look nice on your desk. It should actually make your games feel smoother, clearer, and easier to play. So in this video, we're breaking down 5 of the best 32-inch 1440p gaming monitors you can buy right now, what each one does best, where it falls short, and which one actually fits the way you play. Let's get into it. Number 5. Asus TUF Gaming VG 32AQA1A. At the 5th spot, we've got a really easy jumping on point. The Asus TUF Gaming VG 32AQA1A. It's a 31.5-inch QHD monitor with a 2560 by 1440 resolution, an overclockable refresh rate up to 170 Hz, and a 1 millisecond MPRT response time, plus AMD FreeSync Premium to keep things tear-free. In plain English, this is what you want if you're coming from 60 Hz and you just want your games to finally look and feel next-gen. This is a VA panel, which means you get stronger contrast than most budget IPS monitors. Blacks look deeper, especially in darker games, so when you're creeping through a horror level or playing something like Cyberpunk at night, the image doesn't just turn into a gray haze. The 170 Hz refresh keeps motion fast and responsive, and Asus's extreme low-motion blur tech can help clean up ghosting if you want that extra crisp feel in shooters. In actual gameplay, this one hits that sweet, huge upgrade without making you overthink it vibe. If you've never gamed above 60 or 75 Hz, flicking the mouse around in something like Valorant or Apex is going to feel almost wrong at first. It's that smooth. The extra screen size also makes UI elements more comfortable to read without cranking scaling, which is nice if you sit a little farther back from your desk. There are some trade-offs. Because it's VA, you can get a bit of smearing and fast dark transitions, like dark enemies against dark backgrounds. If you're really picky about motion clarity, the HDR support is basic HDR10, so you shouldn't buy this expecting OLED-like punch. And while the design is classic tough, angular stand, gamer accents, it's not the thinnest or most minimal thing in the world. But if you're watching this with a 60 Hz 1080p panel on your desk right now, this is the kind of monitor that blows your mind without blowing up your bank account. It's made for that gamer who wants their first real high-refresh 32-inch experience and just wants it to work. Number 4. Gigabyte M32Q. Moving up, number 4 is where things get really convenient. The Gigabyte M32Q. This is a 31.5-inch IPS panel at 1440p with a refresh rate up to 165 Hz and 170 Hz if you overclock it, with a 0.8 millisecond MPRT response time and FreeSync Premium that puts it right in the same performance neighborhood as a lot of top pure gaming displays. But the reason it's on this list isn't just that it games well, it's how it handles everything else. The headline feature here is the built-in KVM switch and USB-C. That means you can plug in, say, a gaming PC over DisplayPort and your work or school laptop over USB-C, then use one keyboard and one mouse for both. With a single button press in the OSD, you can flip your peripherals between devices. If you've ever found yourself unplugging USB cables and dragging a laptop across your desk just to start working, this is the monitor that fixes that mess. Because it's IPS, you get wide viewing angles and very good color accuracy. Reviews highlight solid brightness and reflection handling, which makes it comfortable in a brighter room or if your desk sits near a window. Games still feel great on it, motion is sharp, input lag is low, and 165 to 170 Hz is more than enough to make shooters and racing titles feel buttery if your GPU can keep up. You do give up some things compared with the VA and HDR-focused monitors higher up this list. Contrast isn't as deep, so those pitch-black areas in darkrooms will look more gray than on something like the Odyssey G7. The stand can't rotate to portrait, which might annoy you if you wanted a vertical side screen. But that's only a problem if you're expecting this to do double duty and be a coding monitor on its side. If your desk is where you game, work, and maybe even edit content, the M32Q is that grown-up choice that doesn't look wild but quietly makes your everyday setup a lot easier. It's for the person who wants a very good gaming experience and wants their laptop and PC to feel like they share the same brain. Number 3. LG 32GP850B. At number 3 is a monitor that a lot of people would honestly be happy to stop at. The LG 32GP850B. This is a 32-inch ultra-geared nano IPS display, 1440p, with a 165 Hz native refresh rate that can be overclocked to 180 Hz, a 1 millisecond response time, and both FreeSync Premium and G-Sync compatibility. If you're the kind of gamer who plays a mix of everything, ranked shooters, big single-player games, maybe some strategy titles, this thing is built to be your one monitor for all of it. The fast IPS panel keeps motion crisp and input lag low, so when you're flicking in Valorant or strafing in Warzone, your mouse movements feel directly connected to what's happening on screen. At the same time, the nano IPS tech gives you vibrant, punchy colors that make open-world games and RPGs look fantastic. In practical use, 32 inches at 1440p on a flat IPS panel is kind of like having a really big, sharp window into your games. Text and UI are easy to read without scaling. And because the viewing angles are so good, it still looks accurate if you lean back or shift in your chair. That's clutch if you also use your PC for content creation, photo editing, or just having multiple windows open at once. The downside is mostly about contrast and HDR. Like a lot of IPS gaming monitors, blacks on the 32GP850B look more like dark gray in a dim room. There's no full-array local dimming, and its HDR performance is limited. High dynamic range modes exist, but they're not going to match what you see on a mini LED or OLED panel. If you game in complete darkness and you're hypersensitive to glow around bright objects, that's something to keep in mind. Still, this monitor earns its sweet spot label because it doesn't really get anything major wrong. It's fast enough for serious competitive play, colorful enough to make single-player games pop, and flexible enough to keep on your desk for years without feeling outdated. If you're watching this thinking, I just want one really good gaming monitor and I don't want to overthink it, this is that pick. Number 2. LG 32GQ850-B. Number 2 is where we step into the I want everything category. The LG 32GQ850-B. On paper, it looks like the 32GP850's big sibling that hit the gym. A 31.5-inch nano IPS panel, 1440p resolution, up to 240 Hz refresh rate, that can be overclocked to 260 Hz, 1 millisecond GTG, and display HDR 600. It also supports both FreeSync Premium Pro and G-Sync compatibility, and throws in HDMI 2.1 plus LG's RGB/hexagon lighting for that I built a spaceship vibe. In actual gameplay, 240 Hz at 1440 Pi is exactly what it sounds like, ridiculously smooth. You notice it the most in very fast games where your frame rate is consistently over 200. Arena shooters, ranked modes with low graphics settings, or esports titles where motion clarity and tracking micro movements actually give you an edge. Every camera pan and flick feels lighter, and when you go back down to 144 Hz, you can feel the difference if you're paying attention. Where the 32GQ850B pulls away from cheaper high-refresh monitors is HDR and color. It's rated for display HDR 600, with higher typical brightness and wide DCI-P3 coverage. So when you fire up a game that actually supports good HDR, explosions, sunlight, and neon signs pop in a way you just don't see on basic HDR 400 displays. That makes it a nice crossover pick if you also watch HDR content or do any creative work that benefits from a brighter, more colorful screen. There are reasons this isn't automatically number 1. First, it's expensive. This is firmly in the premium category. Second, you only really feel the full benefit if you have the hardware to push extremely high frames at 1440p. If your GPU is mostly hanging out between 80 and 140 frames per second in your favorite games, 240 Hz isn't going to magically make things look different from a good 165 Hz panel. And like any IPS, you're still dealing with limited contrast compared to a good VA or OLED screen. But for the player who says, I want 240 Hz, I want HDR that doesn't feel fake, and I'm not going down to 1080p to get it, the 32GQ850B is basically engineered for you. It's the closest thing to an all-gas, no-brakes, 32-inch 1440p monitor in this lineup. Number 1, Samsung Odyssey G7 32 inches. Taking the top spot, we've got a monitor that a lot of people still consider the 32-inch 1440p gaming reference, the Samsung Odyssey G7, specifically the 32-inch WQHD model. This one uses a 32-inch VA panel at 2560 by 1440, pushes a 240 Hz refresh rate with a 1 millisecond response time, and uses an aggressive 1000 R curve that's designed to match the natural curve of your vision. It supports both G-Sync compatibility and FreeSync Premium Pro. and uses Samsung's QLED Quantum Dot Tech for strong color coverage. On paper, that sounds like a lot of marketing, but in practice, this is the monitor that actually makes games feel like they're wrapping around your face. The 1000R curve is way more dramatic than a typical 1500R or 1800R. The sides of the screen really pull in toward you. Once you sit at the right distance, your peripheral vision gets filled with the world you're in. And suddenly racing games, flight sims, and first-person shooters feel less like you're watching a screen and more like you're inside a helmet. Performance-wise, it hangs right with the other top monitors on this list. 240 Hz at 1440p is no joke, and a lot of reviewers call out how smooth and responsive it feels in modern high frame rate games. Because it's VA with a high native contrast, dark scenes look deeper and more cinematic than on most IPS competitors, and HDR can actually look impressive instead of just slightly brighter. It's one of those rare gaming monitors that can make a rainy, neon-lit skyline look dramatic, and then instantly flip into a super bright daylight map without falling apart. But just like every other monitor here, it's not perfect. The aggressive curve is a love it or hate it thing. If you want to do a lot of straight-line productivity work, like editing spreadsheets or designs with strict straight edges, the curve takes a bit of getting used to. VA tech can also show some dark level smearing in worst-case scenarios, especially if you crank overdrive too high. And there are no built-in speakers, so you'll be using your own audio setup. Even with those caveats, the Odyssey G7 sits at number 1 because it combines everything that makes 32-inch 1440p. Appealing size, speed, contrast, and immersion, all in a package you can buy on Amazon without digging into niche brands. If you're the kind of player who loves late-night sessions in a darker room and wants your games to feel like they're swallowing you whole, this is the screen that does it. So now I'm curious, which one of these monitors are you actually leaning toward? And what's the first game you're loading up on it? Drop it in the comments because your answer honestly might help somebody else who plays the same stuff as you.